so welcome back to my channel. Okay, this is going to be a review of Insatiable Season 1, Episode 3, the Bareback Buckaroo. Okay, so Patty is shopping for new bras. She's lost the weight. Her old bras doesn't fit. So she's in the store shopping for bras with Nonnie. And of course, she's pulling stuff off the shelf. Like, what do you think of this? And what do you think of this? And Nonnie is like, well, you know, I don't know. I would have to see it on. Oh my God, poor Nonnie, poor Nonnie. Flash to Coralee and Bob. I mean, at some point, it seems like Coralee is now okay with him coaching Patty. Let's go. So he's packing for this trip he's about to take Patty on to meet his mentor. And Coralee, so they're, you know, talking. So Coralee is, while he's packing, Coralee is getting ready for a dinner she planned for Eddie Mae and the women of, I forget what board she's trying to get on, but she's getting ready for that. And so they're talking, and, you know, Coralee is basically voicing her concerns about him being alone with Patty, because around town he's still known as Chester the Molester. Okay, basically. And so now he's transporting a minor across state lines because they're going to Alabama. But, you know, it is what it is. She's come to terms with it. It's all good. So they're heading to Alabama to meet his mentor. So they get there, and you find out that his mentor, Stella Rose, is actually played by Beverly D'Angelo. And so, you know, I remember Beverly D'Angelo from the 80s, 90s. And, you know, I have to say, when I first saw her, I'm like, gosh, she looks familiar. And I think it was more so the voice. But she's had some work done. So I ended up having to go online to look up, and like, Stella Rose. And I was like, okay, so it is played by Beverly D'Angelo. She's played by Beverly D'Angelo. And so Stella Rose was like that's how he actually got into being a coach for a pageant. She showed him the ropes. And so they get there, and she's kind of sizing up Patty. And I'm sorry, I just ate some chips before I pressed record. I don't know why, but so she's sizing up Patty, and Patty's kind of, you know, she's just standing there and kind of watching their interaction. And he was like, oh, and then so Stella told Bob, like, oh, she's, you know, basically she's gorgeous. You know, if I was still competing, I'd actually try to take her from you. And so he took that as a compliment because her opinion means a lot to him. And so she was like, yeah, you'd never know that she used to be a heifer. You'd never know she used to be a heifer, but the way that you could tell is she was kind of all up in her breasticle area. Was like, what are you, like a double D or something? She grabbed her titties, and of course Patty smacked her hand, and Bob got in between them. She's like, oh, Stella was like, oh, it's okay. She's feisty, or she's something. She's like, oh, I like that. And so she ends up asking Roxy to kind of be Patty's tour guide. And so Roxy walked Stella back to the hotel to kind of help her get situated and get settled in, while Bob stayed behind so they can talk. Okay. So, Nonnie, she knows that Patty's plan is to seduce Bob. And of course, because she's in love with her, it's just driving her crazy, the thought that her being with somebody else. So she goes back to the booze and spit to talk to Choi. And Choi is sitting there. He was supposed to be stocking the shelves, but he's half paying attention because he's all in his phone. It's like, well, what is he watching? So she walks up and says, I need your car. And he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. And so he never even looked up. So she took the phone and looked at it, and he's on some site called Teen Roulette. I think that's the name of it. And this is when teenagers post videos and naked photos of themselves from the waist down. So he's been in communication with somebody on this app. Okay, so at this point we don't know who it is. So she's like, I need your car because I need to go to Alabama. Why do you need to go to Alabama? Bob took Patty there, and and so Choi actually has a thing for Patty too. So while they're having this conversation, who walks into the booze and spit? Dixie. So Dixie hears, she's ear hustling, trying to find out what's going on. And she figured out that they're going to Alabama because that's where Bob took Patty. And so they leave out of the store to go to get into Choi's car. And Dixie runs up behind him like, I'm going with you. And they're looking at her like, bitch, no, you're she was like, I'm gonna catch that pervert. So this whole thing is to catch Bob doing something inappropriate with some underage person. Now, this is how crazy the situation is. You know that your mama lied. You know Bob never did anything to you, but you still treat him like he's a damn pedophile. So your goal is to follow him to another state to catch him doing something that you know he never even did to you. So in the end, she's like, and we're taking my car. And so she has this bright yellow Hummer. So they all pile into her car, and she's rapping to some song. And she was like, something, something, N-word, something, 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 N-word. So she's not saying the ninja. She's not saying ninja, right? So that was funny. So they're on the road. And so we get back to Rob and Stella are talking. And so from their conversation, you get that they didn't part ways on good terms. And she was like, I'm surprised that I'm surprised that you contacted me, or you must have been desperate to contact me. And he was like, well, yeah, you know, he's always had a lot of respect for her. And like I said, she shows him everything. She taught him everything that he knows about the pageant world. And she was like, you know, I just, you know, she's kind of out of control. You know, she likes discipline, and you know, she doesn't, you know, take direction well. And I just need your help. And so, you know, they're talking, and so you flash to Coralee. So Coralee's still at the house, so she's getting things, kind of putting the finishing touches on her for her party. And she hears a knock at the door. So she opens the door and almost passed out. So she sees this raggedy ass camper parked in her upper middle class bougie neighborhood in her driveway. She sees some kids with them little children running around, and she's like, Brandy Land runs in and gives her a hug. Brandy Land is her sister, and I believe that's Robin Tooney. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you've seen this episode. I believe that's Robin, Brandy Lynn is played by Robin Tooney. And she's like, well, what are you doing here? And she was basically told her, oh, no, you need to pack up your kid, your rugrats, and get that raggedy ass camper out my driveway before my guests get here. And so she left. She went to get to that raggedy camper, and of course that thing wouldn't crank. So she's like, okay. So we flash back, and you know, they you know, she's still deciding whether or not she's going to help him or not. And she's Patty's at the hotel getting dressed, and she texts Nomi something. I couldn't read the text, but Nomi is like, okay, step on it. Basically, we need to get there. And so she gets a call from Bob telling her to, you know, to come to the back to the place, the Bareback Buckaroo. And so they're on the stage, and she's like, I want to see her walk. And Bob's like, I don't know if you want to do that. She's like, what? Well, I want to see her walk. And so she gets up and walk, and she looked crazy as hell, like a baby deer learning to walk for the first time. She looked crazy up on that stage. And of course, Bob had to show her how it's done. So he pulled out his stilettos. These bright red. He had some FB pumps, right? Little FB heels in his little bag there, and he put those on, and he did this little sachet. And Stella walks up and is like, "Oh, that was good, but you didn't tighten this." And then she grabbed his butt, and it was like, he's like, boundaries. And so, of course, Patty felt some kind of way. She was like, the only person that get to grab him is me. And so they kind of looked at her, and she was and so they kind of went off. And he was like, you see what I mean? Like, she needs, you know, she needs all this work. And so she agreed to help her. She was like, what you need to do is tighten the reins, and you basically need to show her who's boss. And so somehow they decided in this little exchange that he was going to be the good bad cop, and then she was going to be the good cop. So already I'm smelling a plot afoot. So, okay. So, her first order of business, so he had this for her first task was to put these kitten caboodles, you know, the cases where they carry the makeup and all that kind of stuff. If somehow he put a pile of them in the floor and was like, I want you to take these and put these over here, and 2 at a time. And so she couldn't understand why. He was like, basically just do what I'm asking you to do. And so he walks out, and so as he's walking out, Roxy is walking in, and she's like, oh, you know, she was, Patty asked, should you be at the rehearsal? And she was like, oh, well, you know, me and Stella are such good friends, like, she doesn't really care, and I was on the phone talking to my boyfriend or whatever. I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm putting these up, and she's like, oh, I need some help? So of course, Patty got done a lot quicker than she was supposed to. So she shows up. She shows up in time for the rehearsal to see the rehearsal. And so Bob was like, "What did you do? How did you finish so fast?" She, "Oh, I had some help." He said, "But that was not what I asked you to do." And so Roxy kind of walked away. And he was like, "Okay, whatever." So they're doing some mess on stage, and eventually they asked her to get up on the stage. And she get on this horse. I have no idea what kind of show they're rehearsing for, but whatever. So she gets up on this horse, and he's basically telling her about her posture and how she needs to tighten her cheeks and thrust her hips and this whole kind of thing. She ends up falling off this daggone horse, and then the horse ends up shitting on stage, very close to her head. And he pulls out some handkerchiefs or something, basically telling her that she has to clean it up. And it's like, oh, the other people on stage like, oh, okay, whatever. And so, so he leaves her to do that. So he leaves her to do that. So she finished she gets to cleaning that up, and she, next you know, the flesh, and then she's done, basically done, and she's still kind of doing some kind of motion. Not sure Wendy told her to do that, but she's doing this motion. So Stella's still there. Roxy walks up and was like, "Oh, I'm about to head out to they're having some kind of girls' night, and they're going to the spa, and they were basically trying to get Patty to go along with them." And she was like, "Oh no, well Bob told me I have to do this," and that's when Stella let her have, like, okay, Bob is a narcissistic, he's self-indulgent, he's selfish, he's all about himself, he's an opportunist, and he will leave you and dump you, and I should know, and this whole thing, right? So while Patty is listening to this, she's having a second thought. She's kind of seeing Bob kind of in a different light, like, okay, so what's that about? But also, Bob is in the cut, ear hustling too. So now he kind of gets a taste of what she's all about. So he kind of pops out like, hi girls. Well, you did a good job. Like, we're gonna, I made a reservations dinner for 2, so we have to go. And so they was like, oh, we're having this girls' night out. We want her to come along. And she was like, yeah, well, I kind of want to go. He's like, oh, no. I've already made the reservation, so we need to go. So they leave. And so you can see on Stella's face, like, damn, almost had her. So they get to the restaurant, and she was basically like asking him, like, well, why are you doing this? And she's basically, asking him questions because Stella got in her head. And he said, I'm going to show you why. Stand up and walk. And so she was like, well, I can't do this. She said, no, just get up and do it. So she did it, and she kind of, stumbled a little bit. He's like, do it again. He said, okay, so tighten your, he was like calling out things he was asking her to do, like almost like he said. So in the end, she was like, yeah, I had to Misty McGoggy you. And you remember in the Karate Kid, where he was like wax on, wax off, he was having him do these cleaning things, and then when he got into the fight, it was like second nature for him to do whatever, all these moves, and so then it made sense. And so she was able to sashay and Shantae, and then they hugged, and he was like, oh, and people were kind of looking, because it's a noticeable age difference, and he was like, oh, this is my sister. And so they he gets her back to the hotel. Hold on, let me see. Okay, so actually no. So we get back to the Armstrong Manor, and just some ghetto ass relatives that you have that just don't know how to act no kind of way, no matter where they are. Brandy Lynn and her rugrats in the setup camp on Coralee's middle class green her treated lawn. And I don't know if they had the hose going and the kids running through the hose, whatever. She's sitting out on her lawn in a lawn chair in front of that raggedy ass camper, her busted, broke down camper. And Barnard shows up with a bowl of, I don't know, soup or something, because she had to make up an excuse to cancel this luncheon, and she said that she was sick. Because, she can't have her old life and her new life colliding. We can't have that. So she's like, oh yeah, Eddie Mae told me that you were sick, and so she made this, she asked me to bring this over, and she's looking at, like, who's that? And she was like, oh, well, we adopted, Coralee, we adopted a family from the trailer park, and they weren't supposed to come until yesterday, but they came in early, and yeah, she's addicted to meth, and we just, thought that we would help her and her little crack babies. I almost passed out when she called them kids crack babies. Had my phone ringing. Lord, she called them kids crack babies. And so they mentioned that the camper had broken down, and he decided he was going to take a look at it. Okay, whatever. So he gets Patty back. So back to Bob and Patty. He gets Patty back to the room, And of course, he goes to pay Stella a visit. Like, okay, bitch, what's up? Well, what's going on? What's up? I thought you said that we were cool. Why? What's all this? You backstabbing me, right? And so she was like, you told me everything was all good, but she's still salty. Apparently, they had a relationship way back before he met Coralee. Coralee came into the picture. He left her for Coralee, and Erinn and Coralee been together ever since. And she always thought that Coralee was beneath her and that she was trash. And she basically said as much. And he, I guess that was a slap. I don't know if Bob is a gay man that likes women. I don't really know. You don't really know how to classify Bob. Okay, but he gave her a little tap on the cheek, and her cheek kind of jiggled, but it wasn't like a slap. Like, it just, like, and he stood there, and she was looking at him, and then he did it again, but a little bit harder, and you can see her kind of breathing was kind of labored, like that was turning her on. And she jumped on that man like like she was a tiger and he was a zebra. Like, she lashed onto that man. She was trying to shove her tongue down that man's throat. He's fighting and tussling, trying to get her off. He eventually get her off and runs out of the room. And he runs back. He thinking he's about to run to some safe haven, to his own hotel room to catch his breath. He gets into his room. And who's in there? Patty, in her robe, like posted up. Like, yeah, Bob, I just want, I just want to talk to you for a minute. And so he's like, oh, God. So he ends up grabbing her, pushing her out, because I think he had adjoining rooms. And so she came into his room from her room. So he pushed her back into her room and closed the door, locked it. It was a whole situation. Okay, so, Coralee, so we're, okay, so Dixie, they're still in the Hummer on the way there. And Dixie pulls over, and she's like, hold on for a minute. So she takes a snapshot of her vagina, cocks her legs up in the damn car, takes a picture of her vagina, and sends it. You hear a chime on Choi's phone. So the person that he had been communicating with the whole time was Dixie. Her name, I forget their names. It was so crazy. Oh my God, I wish I would have wrote it down. It was so crazy. And she was like, you're so-and-so? And he was like, you're so-and-so? And of course, Nomi is like, oh, I'm going to be sick. And so Nomi was basically like, just get out of the way. Basically, she wanted to get behind the wheel. So so Dixie ended up getting in the back seat. And so Dixie ends up getting in the back seat. So back at the Armstrong Manor, Barnard's under there tinkering, and he realized, okay, somebody cut your radiator hose. And so Coralee looked at her like, you raggedy bitch. He's like, yeah. He's like, hey, is somebody out to get you? She said, and Coralie's like, I should have known that you would do something like this. And she said, you're only here to spend my money. And they end up getting into a physical altercation. She put her, Coralee grabbed her around the neck, and she was like, "So I'm gonna milk you." And she said, "You want to suck on my tit?" Like you always like her. I guess they're always asking for stuff. It was just a whole situation. And so she was like, "You got such and such a time to get your kids to get this thing fixed. Get out of here, you bitch!" And then she threw her shoe at the woman while she was running into the house. It was a hot mess. And then she whips around, and Barnard is sitting there. He just sat and watched the whole altercation. And neighbors. Oh my goodness. So the neighbors saw this too. So there were some neighbors outside. They saw this whole mess too. So she was like, I am so sorry. I didn't mean for you to say. I didn't want you to think less of me. He was like, oh, well, no problem. He said, oh, you do a very good job of pretending to be upper class, high society person. No one would ever know that you were. And he stopped. And she was like, trash. And he said, I would never say that. And he turned and was cleaning his hands off the oil or whatever and getting himself together. And she was like, you didn't have to. And so her sister Brandon Lynn came out, and he was like, did she call us trash? And she was like, she said, my Bob would never say that to us. She said, never called me that. And she was like, I'm sorry, because when Barnard first got there, she was like, he looks a lot better on your arm than that sissy Bob that you married. And you can see Coralee's face get tight. Like, bitch, don't talk about my husband. And so that's why when she said, yeah, my Bob would never talk to me like that. He's never treated me like I was less than. And so Brandy was like, I'm sorry. And so we get back to, the hotel, and Bob Armstrong is putting his face on. He had a little face and his little night mask on to keep him moisturized and the whole thing. And so he realized that he may have pushed her into his reaction may have pushed her into closer to going with Stella. And so we heard her hotel room door open and close. And so he rushes out and she's getting in the cabin. Where are you going? And he was like, you never, this wasn't real. You never wanted to be whatever, and you're only using me. And so she got in the cabin and went over to Stella. So she gets to the bar and they're drinking and having a good time. And Stella takes a picture of the two of them together and she sends it to Bob with the text that says winning. And so she gets up. I don't know if she goes to the bathroom to make a phone call, but he forwards the text to Patty. And Patty now sees like, okay, are all these MFs using me? Like, what the hell is going on here? So she got up, and because after the people in the bar announced that there was going to be a crawfish eating contest, so she got up to go eat. She's like, you know what, the hell with it. So she's sitting there stuffing her face, all that grease and oil and stuff, you know. And Barnard finally gets there. And he's trying to talk to her about it. No, this is slippery slope. No, you don't want to do this. And she was like, you know, was this ever real? And you guys are just using me. And, and he was like, no. He said, the reason I like you is because we're both hungry. Like, we're both looking for something. We're both trying to be something other than what we are. And she was like, oh yeah, prove it. And so he got into the crawfish eating contest. And so he started throwing them things in, and he I mean, shells and all. She was just like, oh my God. So eventually he ends up winning. Nomi and them get there. Dodo Bird, Dixie got a gun. So she runs in with the gun out. And I don't know if she said citizens arrest, some craziness. Her ass ends up getting tackled. Nomi and Choi ends up running over to Patty. And Bob stands up and looks at Stella and was like, you outside now, bitch. We need to talk. Well, he didn't say that, but he basically like, you outside now. And they get outside, and he was like, so what, was this all the whole thing? I thought you said you weren't competing anymore. She was like, oh yeah, I wasn't but now I know your weakness. And now seeing you and Patty, I know all of her weaknesses and I know all of yours. And I've always only ever thought that you were my real competition. But you remember Roxy? Yeah, he said, I'm going to take her all the way to Miss America. So she basically wrapped her hands in that and was like, that was the end of it. And so she had a necklace on that Bob had given her years ago. And she took it off and she gave it to Patty. He was like, you love him. And I know because I loved him once. And she was like, you know what to do. And so now Patty feels like she now has the power to come between him and Coralee so that she can have Bob to herself. So yeah, that was basically what happened this episode. This show is too much, but I love it. And so I'm going to end this here, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.